Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Hello, everyone. Sean Patrick here. I had a bad day yesterday, but I'm back and as chipper as a kipper. Yeah, you're right. That doesn't really make sense, does it? Okay, well, let's get right into it. Virtual hugs and kisses go to Nova Scotia. Earlier, the RCMP had reported in their press conference the killing of the gunman who started a rampage last night, dressed as an RCMP officer and with a fake cruiser. One officer was killed, and another suffered non-life-threatening injuries. They said in excess of 10 deaths at this point, but that this terrifying occurrence covered several locations across the province, and the investigation is ongoing. As of 9:39 Eastern Time, the National Post reports 17 dead. Virtual hugs and kisses to everyone in Nova Scotia. Well, Justin was just as cute as ever, and it seems as though he and many journalists believed that the full House of 338 ministers were expected to sit, and Scheer says otherwise. I never did find it unequivocally who is right there, and we'll get to Scheer shortly. But my nemesis returned to ask, you said that you respect Parliament, and that you believe in accountability. So why is your party still haggling at the last minute over the terms of this sitting? Why is this so complicated? Well, what's making this so complicated is idiots asking stupid fucking questions. Everybody, except the Conservatives, had agreed to the suggestion put forward of one seating and one virtual seating, eventually two, per week. So it's clearly not the Prime Minister's party making this a problem. It's Andrew Scheer's. Because of this seating argument, I watched Scheer's address, in which he demands 3 seatings of somewhere between 20 to 50 MPs per week. This is down from 4, so he's dealing. He feels this is necessary for accountability, which is politic speak for whiny bitching. No amount of why did you do this, etc., 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 is going to help anything right now. In fact, it's a huge waste of the taxpayers' money, and it puts all of the politicians and necessary staff at risk. When asked about virtual sittings, he repeatedly points to ministers in rural areas not being able to participate due to poor internet connections. Well, if all politicians were actually following the health guidelines and travel bans, they wouldn't be able to participate in the House. And since only 20 to 50 MPs can attend the actual seating, a virtual way would certainly make it more widely available. He gives a list of all of these other countries whose parliaments are sitting, which included Japan, Italy, France, Germany, Greece, Sweden, and Finland. Well, of those, France is the largest land-wise, and it's still only a little more than 2/3 the size of Ontario. How are any of these reasonable examples? There's far less travel involved in any of those countries. And why did he not include New Zealand in there? Oh yeah, because their government is taking a 20% pay cut instead of trying to spend even more money to literally fly in the face of public health regulations. Yes, of course, there isn't a virtual system in place yet, which I think is sad, considering the massive size of our country and how much easier and more cost-effective this would make our government. But working that out would be a major boon. And you can shout stupid things just as loudly at your computer. And it's been said that it would cause great difficulty with people shouting over each other, and I have a solution for that one, too. Use your fucking manners! He also brought up the masks and gloves that were thrown out, quote, only months ago. Well, they were thrown out last May, and being that they were purchased in 2009 and expired as of 2014, what were they supposed to do with them? You can't just give away expired safety equipment. Yes, this is evidence of mismanagement and a serious waste of money, but it has no real relation to the crisis we are now in. In one article I found about this, I found a quote from a professor, which is rather funny. His analogy to this was, I have a bread store and I have day old bread and I could just throw it in the dumpster, or I could have an employee that night bring it to the homeless shelter and it's still decent that night and someone could be fed from it. And this guy teaches? First of all, it's called a bakery. Secondly, this isn't a day old, it's a decade old. Third, you don't have an employee because people like to work for businesses that actually exist, not bread stores. And finally, the whole thing was a single sentence. Really, there is no gain in trying to hold any government accountable right now because it isn't going to help us move forward in this epic battle against the icky. Sure, a lot of things could have been done differently or sooner or better, but we still don't truly know what we're dealing with here. This is a brand new scare, and I don't believe anyone's government handled it perfectly. I don't see how that could have been possible. All of the governments across the world are scrambling to keep ahead of this. After we get through this crisis, there will be lots of time to analyze what went wrong, and it's very important that we do that. But then, not now. So until next time, stay the fuck away from each other and wash everything. A lot. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking with that Kipper thing.